Hi there, welcome to Ethereum Wyckoff technical analysis session. If you're new to my sessions, here are the 3 key takeaways you can expect from my sessions. And let's start with the weekly chart of Ethereum. So previously we talked about Ethereum potentially, or highly likely going to show a sign of weakness stage, and indeed this week it pretty much confirmed the case. So we can take out all the question marks over here, because it has basically completed or reached that point. When you ask, well, why there is a blue and a yellow tag, what's the difference? So basically, Ethereum exhibited an interesting behavior during its climb. So at this point, during mid to end July, there was a bit of a pause. So the blue scenario considered that a buying climax and an automatic reaction. And the peak that happened in mid-August was an upthrust. Okay? While the yellow scenario considered that period during July was only the PSY, the preliminary supply period. And the buying climax actually happened in August. So one stage later, all right? Because sometimes, if you look across, or in other charts as well, during the climb, there are periods of horizontal trading. Sometimes it goes up pretty clean without any pause in the middle, but sometimes it lasted for 2 to 3 weeks or as much as 5-6 weeks during the climb. So you can see here, even during 2021, there was this kind of pattern in the middle before the last few weeks upwards. So that's why I put down these 2 sets of tags, just in case that we missed out one of the pictures. So that's the thing about doing the Wyckoff analysis on the live chart. Sometimes the patterns look quite similar, and you have to make a decision or make a call on which one it exactly is. However, it doesn't change what we're going to look at, what's likely going to come, because both are currently at a sign of weakness stage. And what can potentially show up next in terms of Wyckoff stage is this. This is more likely, but not saying the second test won't happen. So let's put it this way. Whether it's the yellow or blue scenario, after the buying climax or the upthrust, in Wyckoff method, upthrust can still happen after buying climax, much like we're seeing here. As for upthrust, there's still UTAD upthrust after distribution. So this may not be the end of the run, but while we are still in the middle of this transition, what I'm showing you here is that potential scenarios that can play out. If it is a bullish scenario, it can bounce back, challenge the 4,000 key level again, as well as the level at around 4,800. Okay, that's where this peak back in August was. Alright, that's why I'm still keeping 30% chance right over there. It doesn't matter whether it's blue or yellow. This over here means it may come up, even challenge the 4,000 key level, but then comes back down. Alright, eventually, well, it may not be the first drop falling through the blue key level 3,540. It can bounce up a few times with multiple LPSYs, so you can see what happened in the past. When the price comes down from those peaks, it doesn't drop once and for all. It bounces up higher before the final drop. It bounces a couple of times. Alright, that's the second scenario. You can say it's bearish, but that's how things happen. And of course, there's one even crazier or more bearish scenario is that it drops straight down. It's kind of rare, unless it's like some catastrophic event that happened, okay, that's driving this kind of drop. It's not impossible. Look at what happened back in 2022, right? After this LPSY, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 weeks of continuous red candles. So those events can happen, but it's not like a common scenario. So remember 3 scenarios we have talked about from the big picture point of view. You know, come back, show us a second test or even a higher peak compared to what happened in August. Okay, those are, you want to say, bullish scenario A and B. All right, and then bearish scenario A and B is the LPSYs or a more straight down. Okay, so those are the stages and the scenarios that can play out depending on what kind of positive or negative news are being sold to the market and whether the market buy those or not. Now we get to the daily chart. Here we are seeing the price fell off from the bottom edge, the support, both actually dual support, the blue key level of 3,540 as well as the bottom edge of this downward channel just a few days back on Tuesday. Now that it has reclined to above the blue key level, let's see whether this is actually a new declining trend. Because last time we talked about, let me make this clearer, there was a potential breakout. It indeed happened on Monday, but the breakout that we talked about, you know, this wedge, what was not expected is it has fallen outside of the channel completely. Because the dual support here was supposed to be like stronger than these intermediate dashed support line. Hi, Bajak. Yeah, up and downs are very normal. So back to Ethereum for the moment. I'll get to ICP tomorrow. So here, I was just saying there may be another trend that has started. So after, especially after the October 10th tariff announcement. So this was the original trend box or air hockey table. All right. So let me change that to a deep blue now. Or actually before that, let me drag this out. Also the center line, not both. Okay, I'm turning this to a deep blue because this might have changed based on what happened over the past few days. So the new trend may be or can be a steeper decline. Okay, so let's group these events together. So just enlarging it to see the peaks and the lows are covered. Okay, so it looks alright at the moment. So what I was looking at is this reference point, this over here, and this over here. Okay, so these air hockey tables or channel boxes shows us the price actions like exactly like an air hockey, like bouncing off between the edges of the table. and also the center line as well. So when we put in the center line, it does not have to cut the box in 50-50. It has to, however, cut through most of the candlesticks head or tail. Alright, so this looks like the point where it should go to. So you see it bounces off from here, and then from the bottom edge up there, came down, bounced multiple times at the center, back to the top, and now it bounces off from near the bottom edge again. So last time we talked about a potential sign of weakness showing up, and it already did. So let's mark this down, and let's copy this as well. That was confirmed. Would this be just an LPSY? Meaning, after this bounce, it is going to come down again. Alright? Probably not ending here, because remember, it can go all the way to the ceiling of the downward channel, okay, before it comes down. Not a must, but it's a probability. And currently, assuming it's going through an uptrend, this uptrend support line over here, let me change the color. This uptrend support line, as long as it's not broken, it can do this kind of thing. Alright, so that's where what it is doing now in terms of price action. And this wedge over here, when the price continues to trade across, November 20th, about a week or so, 10 days from now, if the price continues to trade towards here, the normal move would be along this light blue box, whether it's sideways along the ceiling or come back towards the center line. Those are normal movements. Okay, what's not normal would be breaking outside of this downtrend. There's an opportunity over there in 10 days time, from now till November 20th. Okay, so we have covered these kind of potential dates of breakout, the key levels, as well as this price trend, and also the Wyckoff stages. Obviously, after the LPSY, in the daily is a bit different. So the yellow, even the yellow, has kind of touched on the potential upwards of the distribution during late August. So it's really interesting if it can come back to show that kind of height again. Not completely impossible, but as of this moment, looking at the volume as well, compared to those back in August, we are probably about 30-40% lower on the days that people were buying. It's not going to end very soon, because at 3,200 there seems to be quite strong support, this light blue key level. Okay, you see those 4 days with quite a bit of buying. Let me plug in my power. Sign of weakness has shown up. A rebound would potentially happen. This remains of a lower chance, challenging back the level around 4,800. So this is more likely the case. And after that, it may come back down to show the second sign of weakness, and eventually maybe a new accumulation cycle. So we are still at a point that's very far from the previous accumulation levels. Those fell all the way to below yellow key level of 2,500. we still have 1,000 or more, in terms of absolute price. Okay, so that's for Ethereum. Hey, hi, Hoshi and Bayak, a lot for and that's you're part of. Thank you, merci. And it rejected on 200 EMA daily. Okay, yeah, thanks for sharing, Bonze. Yeah, so yeah, that's for Ethereum today. I am moving on to the Solana session and